Welcome to Modern Art Blitz. I'm your host, Matt Gleason. Today, architect and artist, although I would put artist above architect, Chris Mercier. Chris, how you doing? Welcome to Modern Art Blitz.
Great, thank you. Great to meet you, Matt.
All right, so tell me, artist and or architect?
You know, I think it's both. I mean, I flip-flop with the word. Sometimes I say architect first, sometimes I say artist first. It doesn't matter to me. I find that the work that I do and the work we do as the office as an architecture thing, and the painting and the sculpture work I do, it comes from the same area, and so for me it's kind of the same type of work. I mean, architecture obviously has a lot of other things you got to deal with in terms of codes, engineering, clients, all of that kind of stuff. But still, ultimately I think you're after a similar goal.
Now, we're looking at a sculpture here of yours. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a building. Oh. Now, were you the architect of this building?
Yes, actually, this is a project we did. It's in the Santa Monica area. It's a residential project. It was actually just featured in LA Design magazine. It was on the cover and everything. It came out in October. It's the LA Times mag.
Wow.
It's a great project in terms of, I mean, you'll actually see this and you'll see some of the paintings coming up. And there's a lot of same kind of movements in terms of the way the architecture, form of the architecture shapes and the form of the way that I play with painting.
So do people, I mean, hey, my house, again, you got to show my house, give me some privacy, or once they have once you do it, it's like, nope, everybody on the planet, our goal is for everybody to see this house.
Well, there's two issues. I mean, one issue with people I say is it's too much glass in the front I can see in. Well, there's shades that come down so you can shade it or not.
Okay.
And it's actually the way the house is designed, a lot of it where you think you're seeing in, you're only seeing about 10 feet deep. And then the corridor turns. So you have a sense of privacy once you're in the house. It just doesn't feel that way from the exterior.
But would an exhibitionist be more likely to buy this house?
You have to have a little bit of an exhibitionist.
Okay.
I think you need a little bit of that.
And do the people who live here cast stones?
They don't.
No? Okay. I had to just get all the jokes out of it. Hey, so now, how does architecture inform your fine art?
You know what? It's like I find it goes back and forth. I think that things that I'm doing with paintings and the way that I'm playing with painting informs the architecture, and then at times the architecture, what's happening there and how we make a lot of hand models. So it's really about making those things, and that informs painting. And so I don't know that either or is the right one or the wrong one. I think, and I shouldn't say, I don't know that either or is like this is the priority and that isn't. To me, they're equal, and they both feed into similar ideas.
And painting tends to be a more solitary thing. I mean, do you get feedback from people? Obviously, when you're doing architecture, you've got other people saying, oh no, the windows have to be, the city code says this. You've got a lot of feedback, right? But painting, it can be completely solitary. Is it for you?
It is and it isn't, I think. I'm always looking, my paintings seem to draw a lot of attention and look because they're very three-dimensional. Basically what I've done from starting years ago, one day I came in and I bought a bunch of painting canvases, box of them, right? Came in, dropped the box by accident, they tumbled on the floor and they ended up into a pile. And I went, oh wow, what happens if you built painting?
If you build up a service, paintings on paintings.
Yeah, paintings on paintings folded together. And the notion was it for me, from an intellectual point of view, was that can you, by playing with where the frame is, the picture plane, if you move the frame, do you change the space of painting?
Let's see another image, the next image.
I think the next one.
We've got a full painting here. Okay, installation shot.
Yeah.
Your work practically requires installation shots.
Yeah, it does.
There's not one simple vantage point from which to view your art.
And that's by choice.
Okay, that's by choice.
Yeah.
Do these have titles?
They do. That's the walled garden, actually up there on the top right. Sightline is there on the bottom.
Okay.
I can't remember what the other one is in the back over there. But you can see what it is basically it's a bunch of panels that have been reconfigured together, and they change where painting can go and where that space is that painting occupies. And then I actually cast paint so that it becomes kind of a
sculptural.
Yeah, it's almost a model making thing. So you can actually look at these as architectural models.
Oil or acrylic?
It's all oil, but I shouldn't say that. It's oil, it's acrylic, it's water-based ink, it's a lot of different things. Ooh. Because different paints give you a different structure when they dry.
Okay, yeah. So that's, I just assumed.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. I think it was the first time I saw your art, I smelled it first. The
oil
was so thick, so much oil. I was like, whoa, somebody did an oil, oh man, there's a pile of oil paint here. Oh, it's actually, okay.
So there's a conservation disaster in terms of mixtures of paint.
Oh, yeah. Posterity hates you. So now, when you're working on these improvisations, as opposed to going like you already know what it's going to look like ahead of time, or are you going for the great improv here?
No, it's pretty much. I mean, it's a game. I mean, it's like when we make a model for architecture, you're playing with that model and you're making moves, and then you let it sit, come back 2 hours, a day later, making it and change it again, and it's an evolving thing. So there's always an idea of where it's going, but the question is how it gets there, and what happens is kind of the surprise.
Is there a painter that you could reference in art history or can appear who you might say has an inordinate influence on your architecture?
How do you say that? I would actually go back to Richard Serra and stuff like that. And in some ways, I like a lot about what Richard Serra does. It's nothing to do with what I'm doing, but I like the way that you feel and sense the spaces that he's doing. I mean, if you ignore what you see as a sculpture, you really feel that space. And I'm really interested in how you can deal with space as painting and space as architecture.
Well, then I have to ask the opposite question now. Yeah. Is there an architect who influences your painting?
There's a lot of them out there. You can start listing the thing. There's this whole history of architects who paint and painters who have some architecture things. Michelangelo, you can go way back there. Even Le Corbusier. So there's a lot of things in there that come in. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to kind of cut my own path in a little bit. I mean, I think Corbusier, I think he was a painter that was trying to make architecture. And I think that I'm not trying to use either one of these things as the ultimate piece. I think I'm doing painting and I'm doing architecture, and they mingle.
Now, obviously, architecture is the ultimate commission-based ethos. Do you get a lot of painting commissions?
Not so many, no.
Not as many as architecture.
Exactly. I mean,
although
you have to thrive the business on the architecture thing.
Putting food on the table, let
exactly.
me tell you, I think the gazillion-dollar. Now, are most of your architecture projects, do they end up just being residentials?
No, we do a mix of stuff. We're just finishing a project with the Broad Museum downtown. We just did a big plaza that's going to be behind the Broad is an empty space. It's been the top of their parking garage for the last number of years.
Oh, yeah.
So we're converting that into, it's going to be a new plaza, a new public plaza space.
I was just there. I was at the restaurant.
Yeah, right there. Odium is right next to it.
Yeah, I was at Odium. Yeah. And I had to take out 3 bank loans, but I got them, and we were able to have dinner. Yeah. And I just noticed, there's this bland roof there.
We're doing a big plaza that's going to be there. It's very minimal. So it's a turf plaza. It's going to have some seating areas, some trees. It's going to have a place for a stage that they'll actually do outdoor performance things. So the Broad's going to basically program it, and so will the other museums in the whole kind of area up there.
Okay.
And then we're also doing a metro bridge that's going to link that plaza to the new metro station that's being built just across Hope Street there.
There's going to be a metro?
Yeah, it's going to be, I always say that, before there was a vernacular, it used to come up back in the day up to the whole Bunker Hill.
Yeah.
Well, what's going to happen now it's happening in the next 5 years or so, there's going to be actually a metro stop that happens behind Odium across the street there. It's going to be a piece that comes up, and we're building a bridge that's going to come across, working with Metro on it.
Wow.
And that will become the new entrance to Bunker Hill.
That's going to be a lot of people walking on that bridge.
Exactly, And we've actually got a bridge with trees on it.
Okay.
So it was a...
So like as a, look, every artist has an ego.
Yeah.
Have you ever, are you thinking like, can I get some of my paintings to, you walk into the Broad,
you know what?
The first painting you see should be.
I've been actually really bad about that in the sense that I don't even have a painting, I think, in one house we've done or something. It's like I have not pushed that. I've always kind of separated the two things, and the architecture happens and the painting happens.
You gotta do
but
the
I need to start
to.
He
sends the vase,
yeah,
and
exactly.
Then he sends them the bill for the vase. Oh boy. Okay. What are we looking at here?
This is a mural project I actually did. It's actually 2 murals. There's the one on the back wall we did with 27 local kids from Inglewood. It was a great kind of summer project basically. So we taught a studio with the kids. They weren't allowed to work on the mural in terms of physically, but they had to design it. So we had to work with the 27 kids, make the mural in terms of a design, and then I basically implemented it on the wall. But it's kind of cool. On that upper right corner, you see that little kind of rectangular shape there?
Yeah.
That's actually the 27 hands of the kids.
Oh,
so
wow.
each kid it's a hand cut out of aluminum.
Okay.
And then one of the things the kids, it's called Pathways to Success. And so this was what the kids came up with. These lines represent somebody's life as you bump and turn and bend and find your way. And then the end thing are these emblem kind of pieces that are made of aluminum, and they have these words on it like hope and all these kind of things. And when the sun shines through, it actually shines it onto the back wall because they float off the wall a little bit, and they're cut aluminum.
Wow.
So it's kind of a cool little thing. It was really fun. And then the front piece is another thing. A year later, the city came back to me and said, can you help design this piece and work with the mural in the back?
Where again is this?
This is at Rogers Park in Inglewood.
In Inglewood. So you had to deal with the city of Inglewood?
City of Inglewood, which is really great. I've been there for a long time now. Our studio's there.
But you didn't have to like get in line behind the Rams? Or did the Rams have to wait for you to fit like, oh my God, well, sorry, we don't want football until we get this park done?
No, if the Rams had anything to do with when this was happening, I would have been pushed out of the way, I'm sure.
They're having a good season. You can take credit, by
yeah.
the way, in case you haven't been paying attention, okay? They're doing all right, okay. So what year was this?
This was 2015 and 2016, the two pieces.
Okay, so very new stuff, new fun park. And you have a studio in Inglewood?
Yeah, my office as well as my art studio, they're locally right there in Inglewood, both of them kind of adjacent to each other.
Yeah, so kind of a burgeoning arts area.
Exactly, lots of people, lots of great stuff happening in Inglewood in terms of the arts.
Because of cheap rent, right?
Exactly, that's what drives it first of all, but I think now we're starting to get a little bit of community, so it's kind of good.
Yeah, good community.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well do we have more? Do we have more? Click. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Ooh, wow, what's this? Oh, this is a classic. It's coming off the wall in two ways.
There you go, exactly. And it's got a couple.
Photography is two-dimensional. You can't capture your art. It's just
you got to get it around to the side. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
it's floating off the wall in a couple places, and again, it's that whole idea that part of it you can get your body engaged with it. So you can't stand in one spot. You got to move around it, and then you got to move into it, and you kind of get into that space of painting a little bit.
Now, your application of paint, I have to say, it reminds me of one of my all-time favorite painters, LA painter Dennis Hollingsworth.
Oh yeah, I know Dennis. Yeah.
You know Dennis?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. I was wondering if there was any influence there. Did you go? Because he went to Claremont.
He went to Claremont, and he was actually an architect originally as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my
right.
God, yeah,
right. So
yeah.
I don't know him personally real well. We've met a couple times and stuff like that. Yeah.
Now, did you go to
I went to
schooling? Give us your schooling resume.
I came from Michigan in the Detroit area, and I did some architecture stuff there. And then when I came here, I basically then I moved to Italy, and I did some stuff in Italy for a year with Daniel Libeskind. And then I did a master's degree at SciArc locally here. And that's when SciArc was in Santa Monica.
This is way old SciArc.
Yeah, old
not
SciArc.
new, trendy
not
arts
the
district
new
SciArc.
downtown art district.
No. Now, do they ever have you back? Like,
I get back once in a while.
Yeah?
That's good. No, they're a great community in terms of bringing the kind of alumni back and getting them involved and stuff. So
was the student body like? I was always under the impression that it was primarily like an Asian national, European national student body. Has it always been that way?
It's pretty. I mean, maybe it's changed recently, but it was a pretty mixed thing from all kinds of, from local people to anywhere national.
And what's the title of this piece?
Split Condition, this one.
Split Condition. That's kind of that might sum you up.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, it was great to have you on the show. Do you have any gigs coming up that you want us to know about?
I don't have anything.
You're working on a big house? Are you working on the Broad thing?
We're working on the Broad thing. That's finishing up. That's coming up. We finished. There's another restaurant downtown, Officina Brera. If anybody needs a great Italian dinner, it's over in the Arts District, just off 6th Street, right before you get to the bridge.
Really?
Yeah, really great. It's been there for a little bit now. Almost right around the corner. It's on 6th Street.
On 6th,
yeah.
between the bridge and
right before you get to the bridge. Right
by the Jason Vass Gallery.
Yeah, it's back in the thing there.
Back in there. Wow. It's pretty good food.
Great.
Now, would you do architecture for a restaurant if you knew the food was going to be terrible?
That's a great. You know what it is? We find it's like I find that most of the restaurants we get linked in, they have to want a level of quality of design that also is going to get represented in the food that they do. Usually we don't do a lot of fast food.
No fast food?
Yeah.
Fast food could be good.
Fast food can be good, but they end up not wanting the level of design kind of thing.
I totally understand. Yeah. All right, well, Chris Mercier, thanks for being on Modern Art Blitz.
Thank you.
We'll be back right after this. I heard you